Shabbos to my atheist, anti-Circ, and Christian friends. Those who wish to scold me, to call me names, to demean me, to have pity on me, I wish to address all of you. I know that you think you know all of what's important in life. You've learned a little bit of science, studied some philosophy, maybe you're a professional, maybe you're into research. And I come to you from the perspective of someone who observes the Torah. And what can I possibly know about the sciences? I know a little bit, I understand a little bit, and some people who know a little bit more than me are impressed that I know quite a bit. I know that modern evolutionary theory has altered since the 50s and 60s when I grew up, but it's still basically the same kasha. I also know that people have done extensive research on the importance of the foreskin, and are totally wrapped up in the pleasures of the sexual organ, and are totally abhorred by the fact that we Jews remove the majority of the foreskin, the vast majority of the foreskin, thereby reducing the physical pleasure of husband and wife, and that this is barbaric, etc., etc. And of course my Christian friends have condemned me to an eternal hell because I refuse to accept Jesus as the Savior of anyone. So how do I have the audacity to dismiss all of these terrific and exalted individuals such as Professor Dawkins and Charles Darwin and whoever else, all of the great champions of atheism and hedonism and anti-Jewish thought. You want to lecture me about archaeology, that the archaeologists have proven and disproven the Bible. Baloney. Every time they try to disprove the Bible, there are further digs that negate what they said. In some of my videos, I've addressed some of the issues. According to Biblical Archaeological Review, there are two major flaws in the Bible. One is the story of Rebecca at the well. There were no camels in the time of Abraham. And the second was the capture of Jericho. And I've addressed both issues as well. And you can look them up in my videos. Those are Bubamaises. Two problems with the entire thousands of pages of the Bible, and both of them don't begin to have any problem at all. There were camels in the time of Abraham. They were very rare, and that explains the whole reason why Laban ran to find Eliezer, who had the camels, the 10 camels. These were like 10 Rolls Royces, and there are documents, clay tablets from contemporaneous cities where they have buying and selling of camels. How do you like that? And as for the capture of Jericho, who says that it had to have been in the 1300 before the Common Era? Perhaps we err, and perhaps the times are at a different time. According to my best estimate, it's somewhere in the 15th, the early or late 15th century before the Common Era, when Jericho was captured by Joshua. In fact, when you look at the evidence, it says that Yericho Segeres Umisugeres, doubly closed. You don't understand what that means till you actually come to the dig of Jericho, and you realize that there was a double wall. There was a retaining wall, and there was a wall on top of that. That was one whole wall. And then further up on the hill, there was another wall. And that's what it means. It was Segeres. It was closed with one magnificent wall. Ubesegeres, and there was a second top wall to it. So that even if you penetrated the outer wall, you couldn't get into the central area where the king and his soldiers were. And there's so many different things that are clear that the find discovers that actually satisfy what it says in the Tanakh, in the Bible, that it is only if there was an eyewitness that could say that we could go ahead and read the prophets. We find exactly what it says in the prophets is what is found in the destruction of Jericho. That's what we find. We find what it says in the Bible. The question is whether the dates are correct. Who says that the original date was the actual date where Joshua crossed? We don't have to have that chronology. The chronology could be something else. And as far as the statement of King Solomon might have been earlier. And if he's earlier, let's say around the year 1000, and you have 480 years, it comes out to 1480 before the Common Era. It jives very, very well with with what is being said there. And then when you have 586 as the before the Common Era as the date of the destruction of the temple, and you have a period of 410 years earlier that the temple was built 996, you find that this jives very, very well with the archaeological discoveries. And don't give me your archaeology. The archaeologists have one after another said falsehoods, and they were found to be incorrect. Wellhausen claimed that when it says in the Book of Kings that King Chizkiah made a tunnel 1,800 feet through rock, he said that this was Baba Maisa till they discovered the tunnel. Exactly 1,800 feet. The whole of archaeology was used to try to disprove the Bible. And they came with a bend to disprove the Bible, no matter what they say. And they have been proven wrong again and again and again. Wellhausen and the Wellhausen school claimed that the Sanherib, the Assyrian whose 185,000 soldiers died in a plague before Jerusalem, that Sanherib was not killed by his two sons because they have the annals of the Assyrians till they discover the personal diary of Esarhaddon, the son of Sanherib. And there it says that his two brothers murdered his father while the father was praying. How do you like that? Exactly as it says in the Bible. And the people in the Bible lived 400 miles away from Assyria. There's no way they could have known what was going on. If it wasn't found in the Assyrian record, how did the Jews get a hold of it? Only by prophecy, my friends. And so, my response to you is, how can I say something against Dawkins, and against Hawking, and against Einstein, and against Wellhausen, and against Charles Darwin? I tell you why. Because the Torah comes from God. And I can prove it, and I had proved it to you. But you don't want to listen, my friends. So, have a good Shabbos. My atheists, my anti-Circs, my Christian friends, and my Jewish friends. Good Shabbos.